Rise up, greetings. This is Brother Marley from the Gambi 1A channel. I hope you are doing well, and I hope your plans are coming together. A lot of things are happening, things are changing rapidly around us, and for us, and not necessarily by us. There's some people who are sitting back and allowing things to happen to them. Some of us are actually trying to make moves in our family, in our life, whether that be geographic moves like coming over to Africa, or people who are trying to make moves, mentally, emotionally, financially, personally. And I want to talk about some of the things that I've been seeing here, because I've had a few people who've come over to Motu, specifically from the USA. And one thing that has come up time and time again is the difficulty that people have had with withdrawing money or taking money out from the States. Now, I know I've mentioned this before, so it might seem like as though I'm repeating the same thing, but when you're seeing this sort of thing, then it's important that we let people know what is happening on the ground. So I've told you before about, in other videos, about brothers and sisters who have come here from the States, for example. They are trying to build a home and so on, only to find that their accounts have been stopped, have been locked. And then for one couple, the brother had to go back to the States again while his wife stayed here in order for him to show them his ID and be able to reopen his account, whilst his wife had to be here to prove that she is allowed to accept the money here. All this kind of madness, these extra rows of red tape and barriers they're putting in front of people who are trying to get out of that system. And once, twice, you might be like, okay, that's really strange. But now I'm on like number 6 or 7, where people are telling me, people from the States are trying to come over here, and brothers and sisters are getting hip to the game. They are starting to realize there's something going on, so they are doing things like saying, okay, well, I won't make my bank aware that I am putting this money out in order to spend it. I'm taking it out in cash, or finding other ways of being able to move their money over to here. Now, what I've also noticed is that whilst the pound to Dalasi has been changing, right? So right now, for example, the back end of last year, this is now March 2021, I'm doing this video. The back of last year, the pound to Dalasi, so the British sterling pound to Dalasi, was around about 62 Dalasi to the pound. We're now at around about 70 Dalasi to the pound. Back then, the dollar to the Dalasi was 51. Today, it's 51. So there is some clear and obvious evidence of tampering with the US dollar. And so as time has gone on, as I've been looking into like these things where people are stopping black people from being able to remove their money, and that statement isn't to say they're only trying to stop black people, they're trying to stop the money leaving the States. They're trying to stop the cash leaving the States. They don't want that. They want you to keep it in their banks. What is happening is that at the moment, the US government's, the Federal Reserve, they are pumping like trillions of dollars into their system in order to keep it propped up. Because if they didn't do that, you would have inflation at insane rates. What would happen is that, say, in January, inflation will go up 10%. and then in February it will go up again in 10%, including the 10% that was there in January. So it would exponentially expand, or hyperinflate. So in a very short period of time, can't afford petrol, can't afford the basic needs to be able to do your everyday thing. And in the UK, what they've done is they've created a new law that says that if the banks find themselves in difficulty, like if there's a run on the banks, right? If the banks are not able to handle their outgoings, they are legally allowed to take their wealth direct from deposits of their customers. Now, when this happened before, when Cyprus, when was that? It was like 2012, somewhere around then. I don't know when, but it was a few years ago. When Cyprus were going through their drama, and they were like, okay, we have no money. There was a run on the banks. They were able to hold people's money. It took them like a couple years, those investors, to be able to go through the courts and say, we want our money back. And they got like half, they didn't get all. We're seeing the same kind of tomfoolery that was happening in Cyprus is happening again, but with on a much bigger scale. You know, if there is a situation where the banks are forcing people to keep their money in their bank accounts, you know, you mentioned, yo, I want to take my money that I have spent years and years and years of saving, of working, all the hours God's give, in order to be able to now take it out and build my home or my life over in the continent of Africa, for example. They're like, yo, no. The money's yours, but the account is ours. So now we have a say in as to whether you can take this money out. This might sound kind of diabolical, like what I'm saying, or like I'm making this up. But this is what people are telling me. This is what, brothers and sisters are finding they're coming up against when they're trying to take money out. Yeah, right. So just a quick addition, something I just remembered as I was editing this. So in 2020, 20% of the 21% of all dollars printed were printed in 2020. 21% of all dollars that the Federal Reserve has ever printed in history was printed last year. This gives you an example of, a quantifiable example of just how serious this situation is. And there's only like two ways to get out of it. As I said, there's the hyperinflation that I'm mentioning in the video, or just, debt forgiveness, just forgive all debt. Now, forgiving all debt sounds like the preferable choice. And that would work if like the banks would forgive each other for their debts, no problem. They would forgive government for their debts, no problem. They would forgive major companies for their debts, no problem. But consumer debt, that's different. That thing there is, like mortgages, your car payments, and them kind of things, they're the things that are what the banks are able to use in order to then print more money, more of that fiat currency. So that wouldn't work to like forgive all debt. They would have to be like, okay, we can forgive ourselves and we can forgive the big boys. I know that they've been working all the time, always give like tax breaks. I don't care who it is, whether it's Donald Trump or Barack Obama, they're willing to give tax breaks. Boris Johnson does the same thing for their buddies, for the big boys. And then they'll leave the small man trying to just figure out what they do next. Yeesh. But this is kind of like where we're going, and it looks to me like as though the more suitable, in order for the powers that be, is to go down the route of hyperinflation. So then they could then say, all right, we need to now, take out this whole currency thing that we've been doing and go for like a one, planetary monetary system where there is no money being exchanged. So you don't have like the money from the States being one level, the money from the UK being another level, and the money from emerging markets being something completely different. If they really want to control the world, they're going to want to control the money. That's where it is. So I think that the likelihood is that they'll go more towards hyperinflation, which would then allow for them to now reset the economic system by bringing in a completely different financial, monetary, electronic kind of finance, as opposed to the fiat currency that we've been up to using now. Don't think it's going to be Bitcoin though. So I know Bitcoin is looking very nice. Be careful. There may be there's a lovely big Bitcoin bubble at the moment. Be careful that doesn't become a Bitcoin bust in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, back to regular viewing. So you need to be aware of what is going on. But my money's insured, right? If something happens and the money's insured. Well, if you find that there's hyperinflation, the insurance companies will not be able to cover the claims. The claims will be higher than the worth of the insurance company, because what was once $1,000, for example, is now $7,000 or $4,000. And you don't, that kind of exponential hyperinflation, that kind of exponential hyperinflation would not be able to be covered by those people in those insurance companies. So now, my advice would be to those people in those Anglophone countries, so people who are in the UK, in Australia, and in Canada, in America, in Wales, in Ireland. If you've got savings in there, right now, yes, they cover you up to like 80,000, 85,000 pounds in the UK. I don't know what it is in the States. They say they cover you for that. But understand, what we saw with Cyprus was that they only got half of their money, and it took them a couple years to get that. It could be worse. It could be worse. So worst case scenario, my suggestion would be that if you are if your plans to be able to come to the Gambia, or to come to Africa in general, or even if it is to stay, that you look at trying to not hold your wealth in cash, try to look at other areas. And if you're, for example, living in the city, right, in these Anglophone countries, then my suggestion would be that you look at investing in copper, gold, silver, those kind of like hard assets that come from the ground. If you're here in Africa, my suggestion would be to diversify and have both like actual silver and gold that you hold, but also grow your food. Because here we have land that is just sitting around doing nothing. Even those of us who've like living in these nice big yards, enjoying putting out videos of, hey, look at my house, this is amazing, look at my pool, no, bruv. Instead of like trying to keep your lawn looking all manicured and perfected, dig some trowels and put some food in there. Because the thing is, it's like, if you are thinking about a hyperinflation situation, then where people are going to be spending their money is on the essentials, on feeding themselves, on food. So you'll be able to get that income through either copper, silver, gold for your food. If not, people are going to want to jack you for those hard assets. What you need to be able to do is have something in place so you can actually still continue to feed yourself and your family. Times are changing, and you know, it may be that everything I'm saying is just nonsense. It won't happen. You know, the powers that be, Bill Gates, you know, the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the World Bank, the European Central Bank, they'll all come together and say, you know, we've got to look out for the small people. We've got to look out for the young who are growing up. We've got to look out for these people, you know. Morally, we have a duty to these people. Now, I know they haven't done it before, but they might just do it. That just might happen. And if that's the case, you can ignore everything I've said and it doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, you've got assets and you've got fresh food growing out your ground. But if even though half of what I've said was to come to fruition, this video would be the most important video that you watch on YouTube today if you do something about what you've heard. I hope you understand what I'm saying. In the meantime, look out for yourself, take care of yourself. This is your brother Marley, and until next time, signing off, bro. See you later.